Good afternoon, everyone. Ross LaFleur here with Kary's Roux and Pig Stand Barbecue Sauce. Today I'm back in the kitchen getting ready to prepare one of our family favorites. It's our Crawfish Etouffee recipe. So first thing we're going to start out with is I have 4 tablespoons of butter. I have 1 cup of diced onions, 1 cup of diced bell pepper, 2 cloves of garlic that's been minced. I have 1 pound of crawfish tail meat, a 1/4 cup of chopped green onions, a 1/4 cup of chopped parsley, 3 ounces or a half of the small can of tomato paste, 1 heaping tablespoon of Kary's dry roux, that's the dry roux like this, and 1 tablespoon of our queen bee seasoning. So first thing I'm going to do to get started is heat it up my pan on a medium heat, and I'm going to add in my butter and get that melted. Now that my butter is starting to melt, I'm going to go ahead and add in the 1 cup of onions, and 1 cup of bell pepper. And what I'm looking for is I'm going to let these saute on a medium to medium low heat. I don't want them to brown, I just want them to cook and get soft. I'm going to let them cook until both the onion and bell pepper are soft and the onions are translucent. So once that's done, I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic, and I'm going to let that cook for a few minutes. Okay, so now our onions and our bell peppers have softened up. We have the onions turned translucent. They were almost clear through and through. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my garlic. I'm going to stir the garlic in. So that way it cooks a little bit, but I don't want the garlic to cook very long. If garlic overcooks, it tends to become bitter. Okay, so now that the garlic's in, I'm going to take my tomato paste, I'm going to add it in and stir it well. So that way the tomato paste will cook a little bit with all the vegetables. And I'll let this cook together for about 2 to 3 minutes. Just make sure and stir it well while it's cooking, so that way all of the tomato paste can cook some. But you don't want it just one chunk of tomato paste to sit on the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to let this cook a little while, and then we'll come back and start adding more ingredients. Okay, so our tomato paste has been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 cups of water. Then here I have 1 tablespoon of our Kary's dry roux. The dry roux acts like adding flour would be. You can add it in, it will thicken up the gravy. But it also adds a little bit of color and a little bit different flavor. You're not going to taste a strong roux flavor like you would in a gumbo or a stew, but it does change the flavor, and I find that it goes really well with the flavor of the tomato. So I'm going to add that tablespoon of dry roux, and I have 1 tablespoon of queen bee seasoning. Now I'm going to stir all of this in. I'm going to bring the sauce up to a simmer and let it simmer for about 10 minutes. That way everything can blend in together well. And then once that simmers for 10 minutes, we're going to start adding the last of our ingredients. Okay, so our sauce has been simmering for about 10 minutes, and now it's time to add in the last of the ingredients. So first thing I'm going to add in is the green onions. And the parsley. Then I'm going to add in the crawfish tail meat. And stir this all into the sauce. Then I'm going to bring the sauce back up to a simmer and let it simmer for 10 minutes. Then after 10 minutes, we'll be ready to eat. Okay, since we added our parsley and green onions and the crawfish, we let it simmer for right at 10 minutes. And now it's ready to serve. So I'm going to go ahead and cut off the heat. I have my rice here, and I'm going to serve it up. And there it is. Now, one way that I like to prepare my etouffee is if we had a crawfish boil recently, if there's leftover crawfish, I'll peel the tail, peel each one of the crawfish and take the meat out of it, and I'll cook it in here. But one tip, if you do use that, which the crawfish boil gives it a great flavor, and it's a good change from having the regular packaged crawfish. But if you do that, I would recommend maybe cutting the seasoning from a tablespoon to a half a tablespoon, so that way it's not too spicy. These crawfish weren't seasoned, but the ones that you boil will have the crawfish seasoning in there, so you want to season to taste. And then the other thing is we put these crawfish in, they weren't fully cooked. We put them in for 10 minutes. I would recommend cutting that down to 5 minutes. Maybe allow the sauce to boil for 15 minutes rather than 10 minutes before adding the crawfish, and put the crawfish in for only 5. So that way the crawfish don't overcook, because if they overcook they get a little bit hard and rubbery. So I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and thank you for watching today. Have a great weekend.